Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. So this video is from Matt Walsh and it's titled "This rapper's lawsuit against Lyft just fell apart in record time." You guys, I'm excited for this and let's check this video out.
You know, it's no secret that it's very hard, if not impossible, to sympathize with the vast majority of lawyers. We have lawyer jokes for a reason, after all, and it's especially true when lawyers are bringing frivolous lawsuits and doing the whole ambulance chaser routine. You'll find more popular support for acne and herpes than you'll find for these people. But even with that in mind, there are a couple of lawyers that, if you have any heart at all, you have to feel kind of bad for at this particular moment. These are lawyers who are clearly being punished for some sins they committed in a past life, and those sins must have been truly horrific because right now they're having a very bad time. I'm talking, of course, about the legal team of a Detroit rapper who uses the name Dank DeMoss. These are not ambulance chasers so much as they are, I guess you would say, chubby chasers in the most literal sense. You might remember that a couple of weeks ago we discussed the sordid story of Miss Dank DeMoss. She's the woman who was far too obese to fit into a Lyft. She weighed something like 500 pounds. So the driver told her that she couldn't enter his vehicle. And in case you somehow missed the story, despite its plus-sized importance to our country, and indeed to the whole solar system, here's a very quick recap.
Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. You know, I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, you know, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
For every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
You know what? I don't never have to order Uber XL.
Now, as we talked about at the time, Madam Dank does not come across as a sympathetic figure in this footage, but her lawyers saw an opportunity there. They claim that in Michigan, it's a crime to discriminate against anybody on the basis of weight. They said that being obese is basically a protected class. So in this case, they're arguing that the Lyft driver might as well have said no black people are allowed in his car. They're equating this woman's decision to be heavier than a polar bear with being born with a certain skin color. And now they want Lyft to pay up millions of dollars. If Dank could not fit in his car or exceeded its weight limit, then I guess by these lawyers' logic, it was his responsibility to come back with a dump truck or whatever vehicle could handle the load, you know. But I have to admit, as something of an amateur observer in the area, it didn't seem like the most compelling legal argument at the time. Seemed like a shakedown where they're basically just demanding a payout from Lyft so that the story goes away. And naturally, that led me to the conclusion that Miss Dank's lawyers deserve no sympathy whatsoever. But then I saw this footage of Dank DeMoss appearing on The Breakfast Club. And in just the first 30 seconds of her appearance, Dank DeMoss completely obliterates her lawyer's case. She wastes absolutely no time in wrecking every hour of work that these attorneys have put into this lawsuit. It's like watching someone spend a month laying the foundation for a house, only to see a morbidly obese woman walk on top of it and collapse the whole thing. Metaphorically, I mean. And one might even say that Dank DeMoss, chewed up her lawyer's case and then, in an uncharacteristic display of restraint, spat it out. There is nothing left to work with at this point after these 30 seconds. And here's the moment that I'm talking about. Now, in case you couldn't make it out, Dank walks into the studio and then tries to sit in the chair and immediately asks, is this the only seats y'all got? She's not satisfied with the chair that they're offering, even though it looks pretty large. And the other people are confused because they're like, well, what do you mean? It's a human chair. Like, the only chair. It's a chair. What other kind of chair do you want? And then, it's like if she walked in and like broke through the floor and then said, is that the only floor y'all got? You got any other kinds of floors? Well, it's a floor. It's a floor. It's like the floor. It's a floor. It's worked perfectly fine for every other person that's ever walked across it. But then she says she needs a bigger chair, so they roll out a couch for her. Okay, now, which by the way, in case you're not familiar, a couch is a seat made for like multiple people, like 3-4 people, and she took up the whole thing.
Wow, you guys, this whole rapper Lyft driver thing is very, very ridiculous and You know what I found funny in this is that the Lyft driver didn't even call her fat, but rather he showed concern and offered to call her a more accommodating car like she would have wanted, and he has every right to cancel the ride if he feels that his tires wasn't built for that kind of weight. And Dan going over to the breakfast club and asking for a bigger chair is exactly what she would have requested when she was booking her ride, and her requesting for a bigger couch at the breakfast club was her ruling out the lawsuit by requesting for a couch and thereby fat shaming herself. Leave your thought in the comment section down below. What do you think about this whole Dank and the Lyft drivers situation that is going on right now? Do you guys think that this lawsuit will push through, or she has successfully ruled it out all by herself? I would love to hear your thoughts, and let's continue watching, you guys.
I'm not a lawyer, but if you're trying to make the claim that you could fit in a Lyft driver's tiny sedan and that he violated the law by turning you away, then it stands to reason this particular moment poses a few problems for your case. Dank, by her own admission, cannot fit into an oversized office chair in a large studio with no other obstructions. Unlike a sedan, there's no roof over your head. There's, or at least not one directly over your head. There are no doors right next to you, right? There's no seat belt you have to put on. Total flexibility, but it still was not enough. She needed an entire couch. So by her logic, if the Lyft driver was bigoted, then Dank is also bigoted against herself, I guess. If the law still means anything in this country, which it probably doesn't, if we're being honest, then Dank DeMoss's case has just imploded. So pour one out for her lawyers, but the interview didn't end there. Somehow everybody maintained their composure after this little snafu, and as the conversation continued, Dank actually drew something of an interesting parallel that's worth taking. Now, you won't find a more succinct explanation for why we should never pander to any group of deranged activists for any reason. She's saying that because society tolerated the insanity of gender ideology, we should also tolerate her insanity. And in a certain way, she has a point. I mean, that's why the solution is to never accommodate any of this nonsense at any point. Once you start entertaining complete and total lunacy, then you get a lot more of it. And as the interview continued, that's exactly what happened. Things really went off the rails, particularly when DeMoss's healthcare provider, who uses the name Stormy, showed up to the set. Watch as Stormy, who of course is wearing her white doctor coat for the interview, explains that Miss Dank isn't really responsible for weighing 500 pounds. Instead, we're informed that the real culprit is Dank DeMoss's thyroid problem. Watch. It's a medical provider, a doctor. She done lost 80 pounds. She done lost it. But she's wearing the white coat, so it's okay. That's what's important. Let's just assume here that Dr. Stormy actually collected the blood work and analyzed it. And let's assume that Dr. Stormy is correct, that indeed Dank DeMoss has a thyroid problem. That's a real thing. You know, it's possible. But there is no thyroid condition on the planet that causes anyone to weigh 1/4 ton. Okay, there is no thyroid condition that makes you gain so much fat that you now weigh more than 2 full-grown male ostriches. I looked it up. Okay, you cannot blame a medical condition for the fact that you weigh as much as a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Okay, and that's probably enough weight comparisons. I'm just trying to put it into perspective. At most, thyroid conditions make it a bit harder for some people to lose weight and easier to gain it. That's it. The only way that it's possible to exceed 500 pounds is to commit to a lifestyle of extreme sloth and gluttony. I mean, it requires an obsessive commitment to at least 2 of the 7 deadly sins. And if you disagree with that assessment, then your problem isn't with me. Your problem is with the laws of physics. Energy doesn't spontaneously create itself. Calories are a measure of energy. Therefore, calories do not appear out of thin air and just invade Dank's body. She is consuming them. And in fact, based on her size, she's probably consuming them at every available point in the day. But Stormy won't acknowledge any of this because she wouldn't make as much money if she did. Dank wouldn't hire her. And then certainly, or at least there'd just be one consultation where she would say, okay, well, how much are you eating? And Dank would say, here's what I'm eating. And then she would say, okay, eat like a tenth of that. All right, let's start. Cut out 90% of that shit that you're eating, and you will start losing weight right away. Okay? It's like that easy. But she doesn't want to say that, and she also would not get to appear on shows like Breakfast Club if she did. So we've talked a lot recently about how doctors and scientists have discredited themselves. And this is another way. They've refused to be honest about what actually causes obesity. Lazy people who eat too much become fat. Extremely lazy people who eat extreme amounts of food become extremely fat. That is the whole formula. But the medical industry has not been honest about it. And it's not the first time that this has happened. I mean, the medical industry took a similar approach with something like HIV. They were not, and still are not, honest about the fact that pretty much the only way you get it, the only way people who get HIV, are the only people who do get it are homosexuals and intravenous drug users. So if you don't use intravenous drugs or engage in sodomy, you almost certainly won't get it. You might get other diseases, but you almost definitely will not get that one. But doctors didn't want to seem insensitive to homosexuals, so they pretended that HIV is an equal opportunity disease. It is not. More recently, we saw the same approach with monkeypox. We were supposed to believe that this was some grave public health emergency that would affect, say, a straight 80-year-old man just as much as it would affect a gay 25-year-old in Manhattan. The common thread here is that there is a refusal to be honest in the name of sensitivity, which has led to a lot of needless death and suffering. It's also led to a ton of footage that is frankly embarrassing to this country and to humanity in general. I began this segment with some of that footage, so it's only fitting to end things in the same way. Here, reportedly, is one failed stunt performed by Dank DeMoss in Detroit not too long ago. Watch. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, she fell over. That's what we just played. And just to be clear, the failed stunt, the stunt she was trying to perform was standing. Okay, that's she tried to pull off the incredible stunt of standing, and she was not able to. So she fell over. Doesn't quite stick the landing. And yes, I played that clip, mainly for the entertainment value, but if I had to find some other reason to justify playing it, I'd say the footage of Dank DeMoss falling over backwards in front of a crowd is, in fact, a solid metaphor for this whole story. Dank's story began with so much promise. Her lawyers thought they had a multi-million-dollar case against Lyft. Her doctor thought she had a totally plausible explanation for why her patient weighs more than a young hippopotamus. And then it all fell apart when people thought about it for about 5 seconds. It collapsed like so many other stationary objects in Dank's life. And that is why Dank DeMoss and her doctor, Stormy, who claims that people can balloon to 500 pounds because of a thyroid problem, are today canceled.
You guys, what are your thoughts on this video? I hope this lady, Dank, sees this video from Matwash and just ask for help. She needs help as soon as possible because I don't know anyone that had thyroid before and looking like this. I think her daughter really needs to tell her the truth, even if she ends up being fired. Dank actually needs help, and if her daughter is not being truthful with her, then she needs to change to another daughter. What are your thoughts? Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.